It has been an emotional day for us here at Channel 4 with the news that reporter Susan Edwards died early today after a year-long battle with cancer. In her courageous fight, Susie underwent chemotherapy and many different experimental treatments, which likely added several months to her life. Still, at only 34, she was taken from us far too soon.
Some groups argue the extension will only delay recovery.
Susan Edwards made an impression on all of us who worked with her during her short time here, for her work on the air, and even more so for the courage, grace, and optimism she showed off the air as she battled cancer.
I'll never forget the day she called me and she said, "I need a doctor, and I need a doctor fast. Something's wrong with me." And we sent her to the emergency room, and the emergency room doctor said, "You need a specialist fast."
The word from that specialist would not be what anybody wanted to hear. But from the start, Susie worked overtime to keep her friends' spirits up, knowing it would do the same for her.
I remember going to a website immediately after she got a name to this kind of cancer, and it was not good from the very beginning. And in fact, Susie even texted us and emailed us all and said, "Don't read about it on the website. You will get down," and I'm choosing to be optimistic.
Susie's broadcasting career began in her native Alabama, but after coming to New Orleans in 2007, she took quickly to the city, its culture and people.
Maybe next year I will catch on to the tradition. However, a lot of characters on the streets today.
She was always getting out and enjoying all that New Orleans had, and she wasn't afraid to try anything or to go anywhere. So she very much loved New Orleans. We would go out on stories, and we would just be driving down the street, and she'd be like, "Oh, I tried that place. They have this great dish. It's really good. Oh, I want to try that place."
For Susie, covering news in New Orleans meant covering crime and hurricanes. But friends remember her love for human stories that made her job even more worthwhile.
She loved the stories where she got to tell someone's story, where she really got to meet people and to get a chance to share their life and maybe some of the hardships that they were going through or some of the joy that they were going through with the rest of New Orleans. And those are the stories that she really shined on.
And it was Susie who shined the brightest for those who knew her best, even during the past year, as she tried everything she could to battle cancer.
I actually never saw Susie break down. She was always, "Here's what I need to do, here's how we're going to tackle it."
She was always getting good news and then sometimes bad news. And so every time she got bad news, she kept going on, and she would say, "Well, you know, that treatment didn't work. Let's try something else." And she was so strong. I'm not really sure how she did it, but she was very strong.
Funeral services for Susie will be this Friday in Alabama. Friends say a fundraiser planned for her next month will go on a schedule to help her family pay for some of the medical bills and funeral costs. You can also make a donation to the American Cancer Society in her memory or to the Susan A. Edwards account at any Capital One bank. We'll be right back.
We here at Channel 4 are remembering one of our own today, a colleague who has been taken from us far too young. Reporter Susan Edwards died early this morning after battling cancer for about a year. She was only 34 years old.
Susan Edwards covered the news in New Orleans with the same determination that she battled her health problems over the past year. She was diagnosed with liver cancer almost exactly a year ago and fought it every way she knew how, asking questions of the doctors with the tenacity and drive she displayed on the air. After months of experimental treatments, she learned the cancer had spread to her lungs, making it more difficult to treat. But it didn't stop Susie, as her friends called her, from enjoying every minute, thankful for the time she was able to share with friends, family, and co-workers. Susie came to New Orleans in 2007 after a broadcasting career in Alabama, where she grew up and attended college. Friends and colleagues there and in New Orleans today are remembering, among many things, her sense of humor, quick wit, and easygoing personality, and love for family, friends, and her adopted hometown of New Orleans.
Funeral arrangements are still being made. Susan is survived by her mother and countless friends and co-workers here and in Alabama who will always remember her fondly.